Well, I'm really privileged today to talk to Carly O'Brien, who is part of the Oodgeroo Unit here at QUT. I'm interested in change leadership and particularly the ideas or principles that guide change. Carly, can you talk me through some of yours?
Well, I think for me, being an Aboriginal person, and I get my Aboriginality through my mother's line, through her mother's mother, and our connection is to the Mandinjay people out at south-west Queensland, Roma area.
Okay.
And I think, we have a saying, and we always laugh about it here in the Oodgeroo Unit, is that, we're not 9 to 5 Aboriginal people. It's around the clock, and the same thing goes with our leadership here too. And I think that something that really sits at the forefront of our mind is just our cultural values and bringing that into the everyday workplace as well. So around respect, the thought for community, everything we do here is really founded on us as a whole, not the individual. We're sort of individual parts within this working environment, but it's about the betterment of our community and how we can, as leaders, push that agenda forward. So I think that's probably the two really most important things for me and my own principles as a leader as well. And yeah, just something that always sits there in the forefront of mind in all of my actions.
The idea of respect, I think, is one that most people would identify with.
Yeah.
But the idea that community is first is something that's a little bit different to the way that I've been thinking about leadership.
Yeah.
What does it look like in practice?
So in practice, I think the biggest thing is just bearing in mind every action or decision or agenda that you might be pushing isn't just for yourself as the individual, and sometimes you might have to make sacrifices in your own professional practice or choices or which way you're going that will actually lead to a better outcome and overall result for the whole of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander society. So that, I think, yeah, that's really the biggest thing, is just that sort of disregard for selfishness. And yeah, just thinking what I do today and what I'm doing here for these students, with my colleagues, with my team members, and how I'm leading the change in this organisation, this institution, how is that going to leave an effect for the future generations, future students or the future staff members to come through this place?
That's really interesting, because when you're saying I've come from my mother's people and I'm thinking about future generations, so change leadership isn't just about what's immediately happening, it's kind of a longer time frame.
Definitely, and especially for us, I mean, we're the oldest living culture, so Aboriginal people have been connected to this land for 60,000 years plus. So in essence, that's the sustainability cycle right there of our people and our culture. So for me, just to think about the here and now, it's not going to work, and it's not the way that we've been brought up to really be as a person or as a leader or as a professional. So I need to look at what my ancestors have done and always remember that and take that as a foundation and be thankful for what they've done, and be respectful towards that, and then move it forward and leave something behind. So I think it's not just about take in this society, which sometimes, leadership is about taking power or taking control of the situation, but for us it's also about balancing that with what am I doing, what am I leaving behind.
So one of the theories that people have been talking a lot about is Cotter's change process, and the first step is about creating a sense of urgency, and that's like trying to push the change. What you're talking about is something that's totally different. So how would you start a change process?
I think for us in here, the way that it goes, it's around consultation, collaboration, and true, genuine. And sometimes things in our communities don't have that sense of urgency, and they don't get done really quickly, and change can be it can be quite a slower process. But I think the history of Australia as well, and post-colonisation, it shows us that that's just the last 200 years, and from where we were to where we are today has moved really quickly in the grand scheme of things. And even just the change in my grandmother's life, like my grandma will be 100 in January, And the change that she's seen from when she was a small girl to what she's seeing today has been unbelievable. So although there is, you know, in some circumstances and situations, that urgency and that need for change, I think one of the things that I've got grounded in me is the sense of just sitting back and seeing also what will happen, because I know it will all come out in the wash.
Yeah. So as I'm listening to you, I'm reflecting that consultation, that idea of conversation, and how the change is going to be sustainable, because that often the literature talks about people can't make the change until it makes sense to them, and they have that meaning making, and that sense of identity has to be worked out before they can go, yes, I understand that change. So that's almost coming first in the change process rather than left for people to work out. It's starting with the meaning making. Is that?
I think your interpretation of that's correct. I think it's very important for you know, us to have that real sense of purpose and meaning, why we're doing something, before we jump in and do it. I'd rather think things through, discuss and communicate and work out what's going to be best for everyone than to make a rash decision that might impact not just myself, the team here and the students, but a broader community. So one of the things that's very important for us here is to not only consult within our teams here, but also with community, with elders, with the students, potential students as well, parents. That's a really big thing, to have that whole of family and whole of community involvement in the centre here in our business.
It sounds like a lot of work. You started off by saying that you're not 9 to 5, so that consultation, those communication, how do you decide what you're going to do after talking to so many different people? Yeah,
I think it's the group consensus, and you know, in my experience, not only professionally but personally, like that group feel always comes out, that group consensus always does come out. I mean, you know, there's always going to be different parties and different ideas and angles, but to move forward with things, you know, the group really does speak.
That's exciting. Is there any advice that you'd like to give for future leaders of educational change that we haven't already spoken about?
So I think, the biggest thing for me is just, and the biggest piece of advice that I could give to other leaders coming through as well, is just to remain true to yourself, to your values and your integrity, not to push that aside for anyone. As I was saying, like I've been asked to do things which, you know, have not sat comfortably with my cultural beliefs, and it's been really hard to speak up, especially as a young Aboriginal woman in this sort of place. I don't hold an academic position, I'm in a professional position, which, you know, in the hierarchy of things isn't always, you know, looked upon, and sometimes you do get asked to push that aside, and to speak up and I think remain true is, it's a really important, factor for yourself, and that's where you can learn and grow and hopefully take people along that journey to see it from a different perspective as well.
Ali, you've really inspired me. Thank you very much for chatting to me. It was lovely. And I'm sure you're going to inspire other people who are listening.
Oh, thank you.